Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. This is Office Hours Live. Thank you so much for joining me. For those of you joining for the first time, my name is Kamara Toffolo, and I am a resume writer, LinkedIn consultant, job search strategist, and a LinkedIn top voice. And I help established professionals dare to do work differently and land great fitting gigs. So, really happy to have you guys with me tonight. I love to hear where everybody is from. So if you wouldn't mind popping into the chat on YouTube, popping into the comments on LinkedIn, and let me know where you are tuning in from tonight. So Office Hours boasts a international audience, and I'm so proud of that. And so I would love, love, love to hear where you're from. So just let me know in the comments and the chat if you don't mind. So tonight is going to be a really in-depth, deep dive into the various changes that LinkedIn has just announced for spring 2021. We're going to take a look at those things. We're going to remind you of the features that you may not either know about or are underusing in your own profile, which I'd really like to talk about. There's a few features I absolutely love on LinkedIn that can really help you stand out in your job search. So I really want to dive into that. And then at the very end, I'm going to look at a few accomplishment examples that someone submitted to me via YouTube comments. So that's, by the way, a great way to get in touch with me. If there's something that you're kind of mulling over, can't really figure out how to write something in your resume or LinkedIn profile, something you're struggling with, just write a comment on one of my YouTube videos. And I'm always going to see those comments, and just let me know how I can help you. And then I can bring it to an Office Hours Live and we can go over it together. So just taking a look at the chat. Hello, Chuck from Omaha. Hello, sorry, it's coming up as LinkedIn user from Cary, North Carolina. Hello from Colorado. Hello, Chie from Columbus, Ohio. Great to have you here. Hello, Talar from Toronto. Great to have everyone tuning in. So let's talk about LinkedIn and the various changes that have been going on. So yeah, there's quite a bit to go over here. So let's dive into it. I'm going to share my LinkedIn with you because I think that's going to be the easiest way to do this. All right. Let's see here. I am working on a new computer. I just went over from a PC to a Mac, if you can believe it. So bear with me. Hopefully we don't have any major tech issues. All right. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, well, I have to follow certain steps apparently to share my screen. So I'm not sure what they are, but bear with me. So as I'm fumbling through all of this, let's just talk about the actual features that have been rolled out. So the first thing that has been rolled out or has been announced, which is probably the biggest thing that LinkedIn has announced recently, is their cover story feature. So with the cover story feature, this is something that's slowly being rolled out to profiles. I got early access as a LinkedIn top voice, so I was able to tinker with it a little bit, which was a lot of fun. And so it's been a lot of fun. And basically what this cover story is it lives where your profile picture lives on your profile. And it is a 20-second video that basically you can tell the viewer about yourself, about the solutions that you bring to the table, which is a large task to have that all said and done in 20 seconds. I do realize that, but it is a really great intro, at least for someone to get a really good feel for the type of professional that you are and how you show up. And they can get a really good feel of your enthusiasm and the different strengths that you can bring to the table if you are, say, targeting their company. So anyway, really great opportunity to just enhance your personal brand. Now, with the cover story, we don't want to consider it as replacing any part of our LinkedIn profile. It is only there to enhance it, in my opinion. These are all my opinions. It's only there to enhance your profile and just add to it rather than to replace, say, your headline, replace your summary. We don't want to replace anything or take away anything on our existing profiles. We just want to use this tool to add to it. So with this, because you don't have this feature yet on your profile, I did make a video earlier this week that does a deep dive and actually walks you through how the cover story looks and functions on your LinkedIn profile. And I wish I could get my screen share to work because I would show it to you. So let me just take a moment and see if I can figure it out. So PC to Mac, there's a bit of a learning curve. So I apologize. All right. If anybody is a Mac user and you want to coach me through this, let me know. All right. Okay, I think I might have figured it out. All right. In any case, let's just keep talking about the different features that are coming our way. Okay, so another feature that has rolled out, and I do think that everybody would have this on their profile at this point, is that LinkedIn has rolled out pronouns, the ability to add preferred pronouns to your profile. And so a lot of people were adding preferred pronouns after their last name in their name field in the top portion of their profile. Now we don't need to do that. Now we have an actual designated place to include our pronouns, which is fantastic in my opinion. So now you can just take it away from beside your name and just include it in your profile. And you don't have to use this if you don't want. There's certainly no expectation that you would define preferred pronouns, but it's there for you if you would like to use it. So have a look at it and check it out. And so, and let me know what you think of these features in the chat if you don't mind. Have you been watching what LinkedIn has been announcing? And what are your thoughts on these new features? I'd really be curious to hear what you have to say. All right, so let's see if I can figure this out. All right. So anyway, let's see here. Not letting me check. Why aren't you letting me check that? Okay. Sorry, guys. This is embarrassing. Okay, I honestly don't know what's happening, so I will need to check it out after the fact. I apologize that you're not getting the full multimedia experience of office hours. I really do apologize. Okay, so, and do make sure to ask your questions in the chat if you like. If there's anything that you've been wondering about with your job search, LinkedIn, resumes, anything you got, please let me know. Upper left, thank you. Upper left, okay. Aha. Okay. Okay, I'm still not clicking in the right area. Upper left. Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, you're talking about the upper left is where you're tuning in from. My apologies. I thought you meant there was an upper left I could click on to give access to my screen. My confusion. All right, so let's talk about the next feature that's coming out for LinkedIn. So there was a big announcement as well for something called creator mode. So creator mode, I have turned on for my profile because I would consider myself more of a creator than I'm certainly not job searching myself. But I would consider myself more of a creator. And so I did turn on this feature and I had a poke around to see what creator mode really meant on LinkedIn. And so basically what creator mode does is a few different things when you turn it on. So it changes the connect button where someone would opt to press connect with you on your profile to follow. So it's more so for curating a following rather than connecting. So it does that. It will display your number of followers as well on your profile in a very visible area. And also it reorders your featured and your activity sections as well. So your featured section will come ahead of the activity section, I believe it is. And so I was looking at this a little bit, and I really couldn't see creator mode as being a good option for job seekers. It's not really something that I think you need to add to your profile. I think it will complicate things. It forces you to, it doesn't force you, but it encourages you to select certain hashtags, up to 5 hashtags that you create content for. And I didn't think that that was particularly helpful from a job seeker perspective, unless you are someone who's, say, in marketing. It could work, the creator mode. But really what worries me about creator mode, if job seekers were to use it, and this is why I don't think job seekers should be using it, is because of how it changes your connect button to a follow button. So when we're job searching, we really want to make sure that we're encouraging people to connect with us, to build relationships. We don't really want to discourage that in any way. So the follow button might be a bit off-putting. It puts a barrier between you as a job seeker and someone who might be hiring. And so I just don't think that creator mode is best for job seekers. So that's my take on it. Another thing that's coming down the pike from LinkedIn, and this has really gotten some conversation going on the interwebs for good reason, is the fact that they're going to add the option to have stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, or I think stay-at-home parent, as a job option. And so I wasn't sure what to think of this at first. So I'm kind of in the middle about my thoughts on this feature. So first, I'll start with why I don't like this. So one thing I should back up and mention is that you can add kind of like stay-at-home parent as a job, so to speak. Let's say if you are parenting full-time, and then you don't have to define or identify a company. So yeah, so that's kind of the flexibility that I think LinkedIn thinks that they're offering. So why I don't like it. Do we have to put a title on parenting? Like, as a parent myself, a fairly new parent myself, who is parenting full time during the day and then working at night, like with you guys right now, I don't really see a point as putting a label on it. That really isn't a stay-at-home parent isn't a label that would work for or classify what I do. And also I worry about the term stay-at-home mom or dad or parent diminishing the extremely hard work that parenting is. I'm sure all of you parents can agree. It's hard work. It's the hardest job on the planet, right? And so I worry that it would diminish that work. Why I do like this potential option is because it helps normalize the work of parenting. So it helps to normalize the concept of taking time away from the workforce to raise a family, which is incredibly important work. So I like that it's trying to normalize that. What I'd rather see is a free-form field where you can define it as you wish. If you want to just put parent, you can put parent. If you want to say more of an action like raising family full-time, which is something that I've suggested for filling any sort of career gap on your resume if you had left to raise a family, just the sentence raising family full-time. There's that option. That's what I would rather see, rather than encouraging job seekers to pick a label for that work, which looks totally different across every family. So that's my thought. Those are my thoughts on it. So when that does roll out to your profile, give some good consideration if you are if you are at home with your kids right now. Give some thought to whether you want to use this or not. Another thought around this and filling career gaps on LinkedIn, I don't think that you need to do that. So on resumes, we like to fill the gap because chronology is super important, and it's one of the first things that is analyzed basically when your resume is reviewed. So chronology is really important, and filling gaps is really important so that they're not like super big flags that let recruiters and hiring managers' imaginations run wild. And so that's how it works for resumes. But on LinkedIn, I don't think it's the same situation where you actually have to fill a gap. I don't fill these gaps for my clients on their LinkedIn profiles. We just let it be. Date ranges aren't as obvious on LinkedIn profiles as they are on resumes. Career gaps don't stand out as much on LinkedIn as they do on resumes. Also, LinkedIn is a very public platform, and so do we necessarily want to be calling out your personal reason for having a career gap? Let's say it wasn't parenting. Let's say you took time off to care for an ailing family member, or you took time off for bereavement. Do we really want to share that publicly? I don't think that we have to by any means. And it's totally up to every profile owner how and what they want to share. So that's why I think a free-form field would be better than classifying certain labels for these jobs. That said, I also am not of the thinking that you need to call yourself something like CEO of the family, or chief cook, like chief lunch maker or whatever. Like that's so stupid what I just said, but you don't have to create a job title for yourself as a parent. It's a very important and normal part of life. You just don't have to figure out some sort of cute and fancy title to give it. And on the flip side, I don't think that we have to label it as stay-at-home parent or stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad either. So those are my thoughts on it. Take from that what you will, and really give consideration when you do get that feature, if you want to use it at all and how you want to use it. Okay, so I want to talk about newish features that have already been rolled out to LinkedIn that I really want you to take advantage of if you can. So people have been making a huge deal out of polls. So polls, I was like, who cares about polls? Like Coke versus Pepsi, dogs versus cats, like what, like who cares, right? So I actually posted my very first poll today, and the amount of reach it got in a matter of a few hours blew my socks off. So I wish I wasn't having the tech issues, but so I would have showed you the metrics. But let's say I might get a few thousand impressions over the course of a week for a video that I post, let's say. In a matter of hours, my poll got almost 8,000 impressions, and is still climbing. It had, by the time I logged in here, it had 82 votes. And so the poll that I ran was asking recruiters if they're going to actually view cover stories on LinkedIn profiles or not. And so it's kind of split right down the middle at the moment, more skewing towards no than yes, but we'll wait to see what the results are. But I could not believe the reach on that. So I think the reason that it got reach is because LinkedIn is actively pushing out polls and helping them get more reach. But also I think it's because of a very simple question, a simple ask. Also, it really caters to the act of clicking. I think people like to click. People like to give their opinion. People like to weigh in on things. And so the poll feature really plays to all of that behavior. And also it gets people really talking about potentially controversial or less controversial topics, but it really gets people talking, and you see a lot of people weighing in and wanting to offer their insights into different topics that you might be polling. So if you want to use poll as a job seeker, you could use it to crowdsource opinions on something related to your job search that would have two to four different types of opinions. That would be how I would approach it. And the only thing I would caution you on is don't post anything confidential. Don't post anything from your resume. Don't post something like, does this accomplishment statement sound good? Yes, no, I wouldn't post that. But maybe more so posting polls around networking, people's thoughts maybe on informational interviews. Do they accept informational interviews or not? But have fun with polls and see what you can get people talking about. It is a really great way to get in front of people with greater ease. It doesn't take much effort to create a poll on LinkedIn, and it gets people really engaged really quickly. So that's what I've been noticing about polls. So just going to hop over to the chat. I'm sorry, I've just been talking and not paying attention to the chat. Hello, Navin. Thanks for joining. Hello from Calgary. Hello, Maria. Thanks for joining. All right. Thank you, Bethany. So Bethany agrees on normalizing parenting. Raising family full-time is cool. Yeah, it is cool, I think. I enjoy it. And also, I like that statement for filling career gaps on resumes. It's one of my go-tos. All right, let's take a look at your question here, Michael. I have a gap sort of, but looked at the gaming industry, and could we create something as well as testing, selling e-bikes, which I have not included on my resume? Thoughts? So was that like a side hustle, side project that you had going on that makes your gap a sort of gap? Not really a full gap. Let me know, just let me know with another comment or in the chat on YouTube, so I can get a better idea of what you're asking, so I can answer it well. All right, Bethany, my recommendation for polling is generally to keep it really simple. Yeah, so you could do anything, and it doesn't even have to be job search related. So I was joking, but you could get a lot of people weighing in on like are you a cat person or are you a dog person? Are you a Coke person or are you a Pepsi person? Like that sounds kind of silly, but I've seen silly polls like that get a lot of engagement. One of the polls I saw recently was what was it? It was, do you know what a payphone is? Yes, no. And it got like over 1,000 votes. So it could be anything that can showcase your personal brand or your personality is fair game, in my opinion, for polls. So just go for it. Have some fun. Just make sure that, I guess my only thought is just make sure that it's a simple ask. It's a simple, like, in 1 second, can they read what you're asking and weigh in yes or no, or a variety, like for multiple choice, and that should do it. So that's just my thoughts on that. Okay, so polls, that's the hot thing right now. But what was the hot thing a little while ago, which I'm not seeing enough people really take advantage of, is LinkedIn stories. I think people are like, stories is LinkedIn turning into Instagram now? But I personally have a lot of fun with stories. I enjoy them a lot. And there are a couple things that I don't think are realized about stories, which make them very useful. So if you have 5,000 followers or connections or more, you get the swipe up feature on LinkedIn stories. So if you are an Instagram user, unless you have something like, I think it's 10,000 followers on Instagram, you do not get the swipe up. So you can't have people swipe up to go to a link, like go to a sales page, swipe up and go to your portfolio, let's say. So all you need are 5,000 followers or connections. I shouldn't say all you need, but you need half of what Instagram needs. So there's that feature. But also, if you want to network with somebody, I would really recommend that you keep an eye on their stories, because if you react to a story, that opens up messaging for that person. So you can easily message someone from their story. And so that's just a great way to really network with people who you admire or would like to get to know better professionally, and shows that you're watching and listening and taking in their content, appreciating their content, and knowing that you like their content, they'll appreciate that as well. So stories are really great and underutilized, in my opinion. If you aren't posting your own stories, at least make sure you're watching other people's stories and engaging with those. Like, you can just easily react with an emoji. It's so easy. So wanted to mention that about stories. I'm also seeing the featured section super underutilized. So if you look at your profile, everybody has the ability to have featured section. And this is like a built-in portfolio directly on your LinkedIn profile. And it is a scroll stopper. If I'm going to steal a term from Cher Jones, it's a scroll stopper. I think that's what she says. So when people are scrolling through your profile, if you have great imagery in your featured section, they're going to stop and look at it. It's very eye-catching. And the great thing with the featured section is it's an easy way to send people outside of LinkedIn. Like, let's say you have a beefier portfolio outside of LinkedIn, like a GitHub or what have you. Is that the right term? Sorry, I'm not techie. If you have something outside of LinkedIn that shows off projects that you've done, different campaigns if you're a marketer, things like that, videos if you're a video creator, you can send them out to that stuff outside of LinkedIn using the featured section. It links out. So I would really recommend taking advantage of that featured section. From a visual standpoint, it's great for visual branding as well as to show off your body of work. Like I said, it's a built-in portfolio, super, super handy. So just checking in on the chat. You find most people respond when you message them about stories. Great proof right here of how useful stories are. So excellent. That's great. Thank you for mentioning that. Dwell time. Yes. I'm sorry I can't see who is LinkedIn user, but you've got great points. Yes, dwell time on the featured section. It causes people to dwell, or it encourages people to dwell there, hang out there, look, poke around, browse, window shop, right? So yeah, absolutely. Thank you. All right. And so, oh yes, and Linktree is a potential option of what you could include in your featured section for sure. I don't use Linktree yet, but yeah, and I'm by no means an expert in it, but yeah, that's a great suggestion as well. Oh, Nola, hello. Thank you so much, Nola. All right. So let's talk about the name pronunciation tool on LinkedIn. So this is a tool that I keep talking about. I think it's because I have a difficult to pronounce name. And so it's on the top of my mind always. So I wonder if I can put my phone up to the screen and see if I can show you where this lives. Okay, so this is so archaic. Anyway, so if you see right beside where it says she, her, there's a little microphone, or not a microphone, a speaker. And when you are in the mobile app on LinkedIn, you can record your name pronunciation. So I've recorded how my name sounds in my own voice, of course. And so this is a great way to prime people for pronouncing your name correctly. So it eliminates any of that potential worry for them. And so they'll be really ready to contact you because they don't have to stress about it. They don't have to feel pressured. They don't have to spend the first 20 seconds of your phone call. Let's say if they reach out to you for an interview, they don't have to spend that clarifying how to properly pronounce your name. So I am a big advocate for using the name pronunciation tool on LinkedIn. I think was a very, very smart development on LinkedIn's part. And use it. Even if your name isn't mispronounced, you can just use it even as a greeting if you want. There's so many ways you could use that recording to your advantage. I would just say make use of it. And also another reminder about LinkedIn changes, and these are older changes. The character count expanded on LinkedIn. In your summary section, you get 2,400 characters now. I believe that's what it was. Or I say summary because I'm an OG. Your about section. And then on your headline, you get, I believe it's 240 characters. So you can say much more. You can more strategically use keywords in there. You can more strategically speak to the solutions that you provide directly in your headline. You can do a lot more with it, a lot more potential there. So that's what I would recommend. All right, so that was really all what I wanted to mention to everybody. Do you have any questions? Please let me know in the chat. And Michael, I see you've expanded on your question. You're a senior project manager, and when I apply for project manager jobs, I have a gap because I do not include the game startup attempt or selling bikes. Okay. So, all right. So first of all, I would see if there's a way that you can reframe your work in the game startup, or selling the e-bikes. If you can reframe some of the highlights from that work so that it emphasizes and reinforces your skills in project management. So what were some instances where you did manage projects in either the startup or the e-bike scenario? If that's not possible, although I bet it is, because the whole concept probably of the game startup was like one big project or a culmination of many smaller projects. But if it's not possible, you can just include a couple one-liners in your resume, I should say, about how you spent that time and that you launched a business, or a couple different businesses. You don't need to say much. On your LinkedIn, I don't know if I would say much unless you can make that connection to project management, in which case you can treat both as jobs on your LinkedIn profile. So let me know if you have further questions from that. All right. You are not kidding. You are not kidding. I just thought this would be plug and play, Michael. I honestly thought that it would not be that difficult because I've been kind of like going along, doing pretty well with my PC to Mac transition. And then all of a sudden today, didn't work. Anyway, thank you. All right. Bethany, do I have recommendations for headlines? Struggled with that. I actually prefer my title as my headline. Is that not? No. So you can use your title as your headline, so long as your title is, let me back up. So I assume you're job searching or would be open to the idea of job searching, but I may be wrong. If I am wrong, let me know. And so with that, we want to make sure that the title that we use in our headline is searchable. So a lot of job titles, many of them are made up. And so with that, sometimes they don't resonate across the industry that we're in or outside of the industries that we're in. And so if it's not something that would resonate, that's probably not very searchable, which means that we would not be searched by that job title, meaning we get less visibility on LinkedIn. So I would make sure, first of all, that your job title makes sense and resonates. And certainly you can put that at the head of your headline. So let's say we'll use Michael as an example. So he's a senior project manager. So senior project manager. And then after that, what I recommend including in your headline is something that speaks to the main type of solution that you create. So we're going to continue using Michael's as an example. So senior project manager, colon or hyphen or something. Leading like high profile tech projects from concept to completion or something like that. Or leading multi-million-dollar initiatives that create powerful tech solutions for users or something like that. So basically it's your title or your target title, job title, followed up by your main solution that you create. And so when you're speaking about or writing about the main solution that you create in your headline, it would be to try and the goal there would be to try and integrate some keywords around that work that you do in terms of the solutions that you create. Anything that relates to if you have particular strength in stakeholdering or in business requirements or specifications, or let's see, or if it's a super technical, like if you really heavily specialize in one specific area, where I'm still using the project manager as an example. And so, yeah, trying to integrate some of the keywords in that sentence where you are talking about the main solution that you ultimately create as your profession. Let me know if you have follow-up questions around that. How did you get the remind me button on your post about this event? Okay, so I use StreamYard to broadcast across LinkedIn and YouTube, so we're simulcasting. And so when I create that in StreamYard, it automatically creates the event ahead of time in LinkedIn. And so that the remind me button is automatic. Yeah, so wherever you are, if you broadcast on LinkedIn Live, then you would be just setting up the event ahead of time, and then it would auto create the event on LinkedIn, and then it would automatically append that remind me button. Let me know if you have more questions around that. Do I recommend that job seekers use LinkedIn via both a desktop and mobile tablet, or stick to one preferred method? So I think both, because there are a lot of features on mobile that are not on desktop. So that cover story feature is on mobile, not on desktop. However, let me back up. It is created on mobile only, and it is viewable on both mobile and desktop. And I don't believe that LinkedIn will change how you can create cover stories, because stories are a mobile type of feature. And so I expect that they want to keep cover stories on mobile. So that's an example of why you need mobile. Name pronunciation, another example of why you need mobile. I don't think it's rolled out to desktop yet, but I can't remember. So there's that. But when it comes to the actual writing of your profile, I would do that on desktop. It's way easier to manage, in my opinion. If you're writing onto desktop, it's easier to spell check. It's easier to do a lot of things on the desktop version of LinkedIn. when engaging with content, I think that the mobile version is great if you're on the go, or you just want to do something quick. If you're on the desktop version, that might be for like longer sit down periods with LinkedIn. But I think there's a place for both the desktop and mobile versions. All right. Okay. How often should you change your LinkedIn profile picture? Good question. So I'll use some of my clients as an example. So I've had clients say, well, I've changed my hair, so I need to change my profile picture. I grew a beard, so I need to change my profile picture. I have glasses now, so I need to change my profile picture. So when you feel your profile picture is no longer representative of you and how you show up, then that's probably a good time to update it. You don't want someone to see you on LinkedIn and then you show up in an interview and you look like a totally different person. That's ultimately what we want to avoid. But it is a personal decision about whether or not or when you update your profile picture. Yeah, it's totally your call. Some people will update it with greater frequency. One thing that I will say around profile pictures is I don't think that anyone needs to feel pressured to have a professional take their profile picture. So I don't think you need a photographer to take it. One of my clients had their young child take their profile picture and it turned out outstanding. So if someone is good with the camera on the phone, just have them take it. We don't want to have any selfies necessarily in our profile pictures. So having someone else take it is really important. But yeah, I don't think that you have to have a photographer do it. One of my other clients just happened to be getting new passport photos and then had the photographer there at the passport, where it's like $15 for a couple passport photos. They had the photographer do a couple photos for their LinkedIn. It turned out really good. And that was a very small investment, but again, I don't even think that's necessary. So yeah, don't feel pressured to have a photographer take your profile photo is all I'll say. Maria, you've used the mobile app exclusively for over 3 years and don't see any need to open up my laptop to access LinkedIn. Good. That's good. So do you use the mobile app even when you're updating your LinkedIn profile? I'm curious to hear it. Let me know. All right. So, okay. So I know I was supposed to go over some accomplishment statements because I am having these tech issues. And as Michael pointed out, I didn't have a change management plan. I think I would be really speaking to, I wouldn't be doing them justice if I were to just speak to these accomplishment statements and give my feedback. So I'm going to give my feedback separately to the person who was asking about them. But on that note, I was thinking about accomplishment statements and how they can be really confusing. For those of you tuning in, would it be helpful if I were to run an office hours session purely on accomplishment statements and helping you guys work through editing or optimizing your accomplishment statements, like the bullets on your resume? Is that something that would be helpful? Let me know. Maybe I'll issue a poll on it and you can weigh in there too. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that because accomplishments are by far the most challenging part of resume writing. And so maybe that would be helpful for you. And if so, then I can definitely integrate that into the office hours repertoire. Yes, Desiree. Okay, great. Hello, Desiree. Thanks for joining. All right, Mohammed. Did you change your profile now? In regard to what specifically? The features that we talked about? Let me know so I can answer as best as possible. Great. All right. Okay, thank you, Bethany. Okay, that's wonderful. So I think that's what I'll plan to do. I think that would be really great to help everyone with their accomplishments. It's for me, it's the most fun part of resume writing. Happy to offer an office hours episode on that. Michael, how important is the skills and endorsement section on LinkedIn? So yeah, good question. So I don't have 100% clarity on how LinkedIn ranks skills in terms of searchability or how they treat endorsements. I have seen posts from other folks in my space who I think have deeper insight into it than I do, that if you have more endorsements, you will rank higher on a particular skill. So I'm going to defer to that and just presume that that's the case. So that being said, certainly it's important, but what's most important for your LinkedIn profile is to have those skills backed up. So you want to share stories about how you achieve certain things by leveraging those skills. You want to showcase how you've exhibited those skills. So we don't want to just claim skills for the sake of a keyword. You can, but it's just not that valuable at that point unless you're backing it up. When recruiters are viewing your profile, they're absolutely 100% looking at, have you been proven to be able to do the job for which we're recruiting? And the skills section doesn't tell them that. What tells them that is that you have demonstrated actually applying the skills. So the takeaway for that is I wouldn't stress out about endorsements. And I would make sure for the skills on my profile that I am making sure that they're optimized and auditing them on a regular basis. I've run across several LinkedIn profiles where I guess the initial importing of the resume, I think that's what we all use to set up our LinkedIn profiles initially, but I could be wrong. So we input a resume or we upload a resume and then it kind of extrapolates some information. I've seen some really wacky skill lists on LinkedIn profiles where it's got weird numbers or like whole paragraphs for a skill, and it just is really messy. So if your skill section isn't just simply stating the skill as its term, so like stakeholder engagement, project management, let's see, budget management or budgets or budgetary management, or client service, customer service. If it's not straight, if your skills aren't straightforward like that, you'll want to take a look at it and see how you can clean it up. Additionally, the top 3 skills, so the 3 skills that are listed first on your profile are given the best and most prime real estate in your skills section. And so you want to make sure that you prioritize your top 3 core skills and place them in those sections. So it's called pinning. So if you go into your skills section, there's a push pin icon beside those top 3 skills. And by default, the most endorsed skills are those pin skills. But you don't have to keep those skills there if they aren't relevant to your target direction. So I would recommend taking a look at that. I do have a video on my YouTube channel about rejigging your skill section, so make sure to check that out. Let me know if you have any other questions about skills. Awesome, Grace, thank you. Okay, so this is good confirmation that an accomplishment session would be helpful. Mohammed, can you please go to my my website is kamaratoffolo.com and send me a message through my contact form and let me know how I can help. All right. Can I provide the top LinkedIn components recruiters are looking at? Yeah, for sure. So high level, but I do have a much more in-depth video on what recruiters are looking for on my channel. I think one of my earliest lives was about how to stand out to recruiters on LinkedIn. But they are looking at, primarily, they are looking at, do you have the qualifications for the job for which you're applying? That is like goal number one. They want to see a strong headline, and that is for searchability purposes. But the experience section is very important. And then really having a good and complete about section or summary section. And making sure that everything is aligned with your resume. So that date ranges align, that titles align, employers align, so there's no question and nothing is called into question. One thing I really recommend for job seekers is to make sure that you have some recent activity on LinkedIn. So recent activity being engaging with or posting content. So the reason for this is because we can view your activity section. Anybody can view your activity section on your profile and see when the last time is that you actually engaged with something. And so if you engaged with the last time you engaged with something was 2 months ago, that might call into question how responsive you would be if a recruiter sends you an in-mail. And so we don't want to create that question. We want to make sure that we come across as an active and engaged member of the LinkedIn community. So at a minimum, make sure you've liked something recently. But more effective use of your time when you are engaging with content on LinkedIn is to comment on content. Commenting on content on LinkedIn is considered a high value interaction. It keeps the conversation going. It keeps eyeballs on content. And so you're kind of rewarded with more visibility. It also shows that you're very engaged. So there's that qualitative aspect as well. So yeah, commenting on content, but really having a full and complete profile is important. Using the spaces in LinkedIn to your advantage, the fields in LinkedIn to your advantage, really building out your professional experience, showcasing how you've demonstrated your skills in that professional experience section, telling a strong, focused, targeted story about where you're headed, what you're going after in terms of a role, so that there's no question of what you actually want out of your next role. And having a good headline that easily identifies your solution creation or the strengths or those strengths you bring to the table. I hope that helps. Thank you. Thank you, Nola, for that. I think that's Nola who did that. Thank you so much. All right. Any final questions that I can address before I let y'all go? I'm going to stall with a sip of water. There is like a 10-second delay between what I say and actually getting any comments coming in. So I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything that you guys are saying. All right. And I promise I will have the tech issues sorted for next time. How awful. I consider myself a tech savvy professional. I definitely have to give up that that designation as of tonight. Michael, the licenses and certifications, what value does that have? And I'm only asking because I've taken a lot of LinkedIn training. Yeah, I know. Value-wise, I don't know if there's a super amount of value in that section. I'll tell you where I see the greatest potential. So certainly from a factual standpoint, aligning the certifications that you claim on your resume with the certifications that you claim on your LinkedIn. So making sure those are consistent. But also there's it amplifies your networking potential, particularly like thinking of project management. If you have your PMP, showing that you have your PMP and the fact that it links to PMI, presumably, and then that helps you from a networking perspective, because there's that whole PMI network of members and PMP professionals who you can tap into. So I would say it's more beneficial from a networking perspective and a factual alignment perspective, but I don't see much value in really beefing up that section, because what will happen is, I think after like 3 or 4 or even fewer certifications in your certification section, I believe it might say click to see more, click to read more, something like that. Once we're in that situation, it's unlikely that the reader will click to read more. So I wouldn't spend a ton of time beefing that up, but from an additional training perspective, that's a really good way to address any employment gaps. So I see that as having value in that sense. But to just fill spots in the certifications and licenses section on LinkedIn, I don't think that's particularly necessary. I hope that helps. All right, guys. Okay, so excellent. Well, lots of great questions. Really appreciate that you joined me today. Thanks for putting up with the tech issues that I did not resolve. So I was purely a talking head, but I appreciate that you stayed with me for an hour. And so next week I'm really excited about the session that's geared up next week. I'll have another guest and we'll be talking about neurodiversity and job searching. So this is a topic very near and dear to my heart. Really, really excited about this. And then at the end of the month, we've got a mini panel on salary negotiations. So April is full of some good stuff. So make sure you tune in. Those 2 Thursdays coming up. If you can't tune in, you can always catch the replay. And also, if you are tuning in for the first time, make sure that you grab my cover letter guide. It's totally free. It's on my website under the menu item free stuff. So it's kamaratoffolo.com. Menu item free stuff. You can also access it off of my LinkedIn profile. And so hop on over there, grab your guide. And if you sign up for that, you'll also get weekly reminders of the videos that I record and post on YouTube, as well as the videos that are live and the great guests that I'll be welcoming on office hours on Thursday nights. So fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great evening, and we will see you next week. Take care.